So this is kind of a bunch of ideas to design a device that will help people during medical emergencies, kind of like a defibrillator CPR device, but more. For the future I have. And some of this various people are already working on. One of them is to have this device have a built-in breathing mask with a sensor and variable pressure. So if you're doing CPR and stuff, you don't have to do them mouth to mouth, and you instead have a continuous flow and can focus more on other parts of the first aid, and that a person can get more oxygen. With a continuous flow setup, what I mean by that is that the device will give you more or less air depending on various sensors, equipment, or it can kind of measure how much air your lungs can take in or not, so it doesn't overload your lungs. Because if you put in too much air fast, your lungs can burst or can go up. If you suck out the air too much, you can do that. Do the opposite, shrink your lungs so much that they can't re-expand. All major issues. You can also do it with having problems with and with that you can do it. The simplest way is to have a sensor that just continuously circulates air, and then if the air gets too, if you breathe in, a valve opens up to let air in. If you breathe out, a valve that closes up and a new valve opens up to let the air out, and then just the circulating air just gets in that stream. There's more advanced ways with better measurements, and that's actually the main problem with designing breathing apparatus to help people breathe. Is this kept heavily secret, though the exact parameters. It's not the actual mechanics. And you could have sensors for flow rate, pressure, all important. You could have sound sensors to detect if there's any obstructions or something if you want fancy. And you could even have fancy CO2 or O2 sensors. And this whole device could be made pretty light and pretty cheap, probably under $100. It's more the software designing that'll be complicated if you want to make it perfect. An imperfect version would be still very useful, I believe. Another idea I have is to make a defibrillator setup. A CPR machine where you put the CPR pads on the chest in the right place and inflates and deflates, so you don't have to use your hands to tie out, which could be really helpful if someone is disabled or older or younger or something and doesn't have the arm strength to keep doing it for long periods of time. And they can also, by saving energy, focus more on talking to other people, assessing the situation, doing other things, and maybe to even some extent you could make it hands-free, but then you would need some weight behind the things that are pushing up and down, so it doesn't just push up in the air and down in the air, because the force needs to be concentrated. So you could have, either you would have to find a device to hold it down, like clamps or something, or you have to stick it to the thing and notice some energy will be lost, or you'd have to find local things. Now this, if you have this machine built in, you can also build it in with a defibrillator, and you can have it doing actual CPR and defibrillation at the same time without spending energy, which will mean that there's less time in between switching between devices. So it'll give you a more continuous setup, which hopefully would allow you for a better impact, and that this whole thing would work better. For the instruction setup for this whole device, I think what would be very useful is to have a good audio instructions, which is already include many picture instructions for people that can read, and written instructions for that stuff. But also we need to look at features for better changing different languages. Maybe you could have a language to text in the future that could listen to languages and figure out what language the person speaks better. You could have menus to change the language easily that could instruct you in a bunch of different languages, like speak your language and it'll detect it. Something like that, so people can use it for a variety of languages, without there being any concern or worry that anything goes undetected, to say. Another thing that could be added to this whole device to make it a little better is an oxygen meter, and this is now currently not used that much on the field because you have to do everything else, CPR and stuff. But if you have more hands-free, an oxygen meter might be simple. And oxygen meters for blood oxygen are really simple. They're just shining light of two different colors to get rid of air through either your fingernails, nails, or through your earlobe. And that will tell you how much oxygen is in your blood. And this could be useful to figure out how much and if you have it actually in your fingers in the ear, you can actually tell different parts of your body. Like you might be able to detect if it's a blood clot or more local if the blood is being blocked off, or what side of the body. But it could tell you more how hard you have to pump, so you don't pump too much hard that it causes trauma. If something else is going on that's not a heart attack or blood circulation problem, and that you shouldn't do it. It could tell you also how much oxygen is needed, how important to get the breathing apparatus to get oxygen in your body or how much not. Stuff like that. And it could also tell you, help detect the heartbeat throughout the system, blood pressure, and a variety of other problems, and also give a timeline for the people emergency responders to figure out how crucial different steps will be. Another thing they could pack into this whole device is a cool pack, actually. And the cool pack, what it would do is it can be very cooling down someone that's had a heart attack, a stroke, or something, can literally add hours to the time that we have to save their life by lowering inflammation, the body's need for oxygen, negative certain blood clotting, and also blood spilling, and a bunch of other things. We can't do the sophisticated hypothermia treatment they do in hospitals, but a minor one might be possible, and it could really probably save lives. It's hard though to, this is a very energy consuming technology usually, so it's probably that we have chemical cool packs that last only a little while, but still could help a lot. Another one is you could invent maybe a chemical that where people are losing a lot of, a spray or something that could cause local blood clotting in these new packages if you get rid of a lot of space and stuff by miniaturizing stuff and weight. And we already have spray on bandages and stuff like that. So just including that and lowering blood loss can really save people lives, of course. And it could even have a little bit that travels in the body and causes local blood clotting, depending on certain parameters, but that's more futuristic nanoparticle technologies that some people are working on. Kind of a fifth idea is to have this whole thing in sort of a backpack or system so that people can carry it around with them wherever they go, especially the more vulnerable people, and the backpack clearly marked. Another idea I have is we could look in the laboratory. This would be something more with a lot of experimentation in the laboratory. Is we usually give adrenaline to boost up the heart rate, but it's also kind of a form of adrenaline. Not exactly, it's complicated. Is used to stop allergic reactions, anaphylactic shock, and more. So adrenaline is a very useful one, but maybe we could reformulate it, looking at other stimulants, such as caffeine as a stimulant, but we have strong ones, taurine. We have different forms of adrenaline-like compounds. See if we could figure out ones that are better for certain things like heart failure, for certain types of heart failure, stimulation for certain types of anaphylactic shock, and so on, so it works better. And I'm not exactly certain, but we have a bunch of them, so it's something to experiment with. It's the hard thing, though, I think, for experimenting with this, though, is that we don't have as good of an animal model because stimulants work very different depending on the size of the creature and all these other things with the metabolism and stuff like that and the heart rate and stuff. So that makes it a lot harder, but it's something maybe to think about. The seventh one, and I'm going to make everything in here a little bigger, that might sound very similar to the one I said in the fourth one, is more of a specialized blood clotting device. And by that I mean in thinner, I mean something blocking blood clotting and thinning blood is crucial in sometimes saving people's lives, because a blood clot can block blood from certain areas of the body and cause people to die, or on the other hand, having too thin blood can cause a lot of leakage of blood and cause you to die. People are thinking about in the future designing stuff that can kind of detect low and high blood pressure and blockages in the oxygen environment to either make it blood clot more easily or not in the same particle. One particle has both, but this does it locally. It is a futuristic idea, but something I just want to note that many people are working on, and we should look into maybe doing more. Another one is, and maybe including this in future kits. Another one is just having in kits for emergencies video cameras and microphones that are well made, and some of them could be like a GoPro thing on the head or something, so when emergency responders can actually see the whole time what's going on and stuff in a better high resolution things and give you better directions, and or look over the data, figure out what happened at the scene that happened. I think that will be very useful. Another useful idea would be to make specialized gloves to put on and other PPE, so PPE both will protect the wearer and also make them more likely probably to do stuff because they're less afraid of getting sick, but also it might lower the chances of them spreading infection to a person they're helping. And we have now non-stick surfaces that bacteria and stuff are less likely to stick to, and blood, so that causes transfer of bacteria in both ways to both people be less and other antimicrobes, or of toxins, if there's toxins in the environment. We also have ones with antimicrobials built in, and more. The last idea kind of in this is to make warning lights and warning signals just to better light up the area so people know to stay away or something serious is happening. Well, thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. It really helps turn it out. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year and 4,000 watch hours, which is really hard, but with your help I think you can do it. Also, if any ideas for future videos, comments, or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. Again, thank you very much. Goodbye.